start with this question of why Thailand has changed so much, so quickly. It's like we blinked, right? Who here has been here for 50 years? I know one guy's been here for 50 years, right? Put your hand up, right? 50 years. Unbelievable. Who here first came, oh, another gentleman. Who here first came here 40 years ago? Wow. 30. 30 years ago. 20? 15. 15, that's me. 15, right? 10 or less. Right? Interesting. Now, even if you've been here for only 10 years, it's like, whoa, I blinked and things changed. So why do you think? People say, oh, economics, or they say, somebody says China's influence. So I'm just going to look briefly at one thing which has undoubtedly changed unbelievably rapidly. Thai waistlines, right? We blinked and Thai's got that. How did this happen? Well, what do you think? The march of time, it's been a headlong plunge. This is actually an old photo from the club. Judith, from a Christmas show in about 2010 or something. This is what Thai kids used to look like, right? And now it's not unusual for them to look like this.
You're a bad guy.
And here's a photo.
That's wrong.
Do you think that's before he lost weight? Do you think this is from 30 years ago or like from last year, or this year? So how did this happen? Western food, right? KFC, this is unbelievable. This is like a dessert cone with deep fried chicken in and a sweet sauce. Who comes up with these things? Or is it like Coke, right? Sugar, right? Massive amounts of sugar. Well, here's one of the biggest drivers, if not the biggest driver of change and fat in Thailand. This is fertility rates of women. Right, the top one is the Philippines. Japan's down the bottom, it's been low for a long time. And this is Thailand. In the 60s, women were having 6.1 children in their fertile period. Now look, they're down at the rate of Japan. It's an exponential plunge.
I've talked to Kunmichai about that.
Yeah, let's blame Kunmichai. Yeah, exactly. But condoms, I mean, Michai's had an unbelievable effect. And this is actually birth rates per 10,000, and it follows exactly the same trend. So let's go back to this. 1970, right? Women were having pretty much still 6 children in their per family, right? So if you were here like back then, you know, there was a very different demographic. 1980. Now I want you to think of this in terms of the proportion of 25-year-olds. So when you're 25, you're like a true adult. Your brain fully develops by the age of 25. So look at this. This is 10 years. 10 years. And it's gone, basically cut by a third in 10 years. Now, when I got here in 2005, focusing on 25-year-olds, this is how many children per woman they were having. Now, half. 15 years, it's gone down by a half. So think of this in terms of 25-year-olds next year, 2020. Can you imagine if right now Thai women had kept breeding at the rate they were effectively when I got here, in terms of 25-year-olds, there would right now be twice as many 25-year-olds in Thailand. See, you think about the huge impact that is, right? That is a massive, massive change in character. Right? You want to know why? So, and now it's at the rate of Japan. And the Thai authorities are worried, just like they are in Japan. How are we going to construct an economy and look after the old people when we're only breeding at 1.44 children per woman? It's below the replacement rate, and there's all sorts of worries. Now, so you want to know why Thais are fat now? Because they can be, right? You're up country and you're feeding 1.5 children as distinct from 6. There's like 4 times as much food per kid. Similarly, if you're on a wage, you've got only feeding 1.5 mouths as distinct from 6 mouths. Why are they fat? Because they can be. Now, this is another problem in Thailand. The group eating culture. Thais think we are crazy because we eat by ourselves. It's like there must be something psychologically wrong with us. But it's been proven that the more people you eat with, the more you eat. If you eat by yourself, as distinct from eating with 10 people or more, you will eat over twice as much. Right? So this is one of the reasons Thais are going to have an astronomical rate of diabetes, the group eating culture. By the way, other animals do this too. So if you put a chicken in a cage, give it all the food it wants, it will get satiated and go, stop. You put another chicken next to it that's still hungry, it will start eating, right? So the second chicken starts eating. The chicken goes back and starts eating again. Because we think about the competition between the species, but you're actually more in a competition with members of your own species. Because you eat the same food, you have the same sexual partner selection, right? I mean, why do you think there's war between tribes? So this is a big problem in Thailand, the group eating culture, which encourages overeating and eating more frequently. Also, at least they're having healthy rice, right? This is khao suai, the beautiful rice. Not brown rice, khao suai, beautiful rice. Average sort of serving. Contrast it with this sort of Western food, right? Now, both of these, ultimately, the sugar, ultimately both of them are turned into blood sugar, right? They're carbs and they turn into blood sugar. So what do you think? How much is this one? How many teaspoons do you think blood sugar there is in that?
2.
3.
10. Right? 10. But it's not so bad, right? Well, in that plate of white rice, there is 20 teaspoons of blood sugar. Right? Twice as many as that muffin. So you want to know another reason? And it's a high glycemic index too, it's like 80. So this is one of the reasons why the diabetes outlook moving into the future for Thailand looks really bad. In fact, you can see here deaths from diabetes, and already, there's 2.7 in the US, it's 4.1% of deaths in Thailand are from diabetes. Now, I'm going to mention another thing. So we're getting onto how Thais think differently from us. This is, of course, the Indian number system that we use, and on top is the Thai one. So, let me take you back. I used to go to this bar, and I used to play like pool there every night. And I'd buy, a couple of drinks, so or whatever. And I was like there every night, I'd bring some friends with me. And I discovered that the owner thought I was a bad customer. I was there every night, right? But one guy, a tourist who was there one night, who spent 1,000 baht, he was a great customer. So this was like, how could she think like this, right? How could she think that I was a bad customer? And then I got it. Thais don't do mental arithmetic. Most of us have been there, right? It'll be, it's 80 plus 20 plus 30, right? And we'll say, yeah, it's 130. And Thais will get out the calculator and go, oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Right? Most of us have had that experience, right? They don't do mental maths. So this woman literally never occurred to her to go, well, let's see, you're spending about 200 baht a night, about 30 days in a month, that's 6,000 baht, times that by 12 months, that's 72,000 baht. Oh my God, this customer is a god. But it never occurred to her to do the mental maths. Right. All right, so we're going to specifically look at this question of how we, as Farangs, right, as people from a Western Judaic Christian heritage background, think of things as distinct from how Thais think of things with their Theravedic Buddhist background. So, who here thinks they can name the 10 Commandments? It's actually pretty tricky to name all 10. Very few people can do it, because I've been practicing. So, it's thou shalt have no other God before me, worship the God, do not take the Lord's name in vain, honour the Sabbath, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness, thou shalt not covet thy neighbour's wife or his stuff, and honour thy mother and thy father.
That's mine.
Alright? Now, the thing about this is unbelievably black and white, right? It doesn't say, oh, sometimes it's okay to steal, sometimes it's okay to commit adultery. It's black and white. And this is how we, as Farangs, tend to think of morality in these black and white terms, right? Now, a wonderfully a behavioural economist called Dan Ariely, he was really bothered by the amount of cheating and malfeasance that was going on Wall Street. So he wanted to do like a test on cheating and how he could encourage or discourage cheating. So he had this test, and it involved self-assessment. You could actually, you do the test, and then they put up the answers and you'd mark your own sheet. And then they'd say, well, how many, just tear it up and go and tell us how many you got right. Tell us how many you got right, and then we'll just give you the money for each right answer you had. So the amount of cheating tended to go up, right, when they were self-reporting. But here's the interesting thing. When they asked people, before they did the test, can you name the 10 Commandments, right? Write down it basically wiped out cheating. Because people thought, wow, black and white, right? Thou shalt not. Even though nobody who did the test could actually name the 10 Commandments. So this is how we think of things, very, very black and white. And recently, I heard a little bit of an interview with him, and they did a talk, and they did a test with, okay, we're not going to give you the money, we're going to give it to a charity instead. We're going to give it to hand to hand. So do you think that increased or decreased the amount of cheating? Increased. It increased the amount of cheating. Because people go, oh yes, I'm cheating, but it's in a good cause, right? So any time, I'll just move on. I haven't got so much time. Now, this is a Theravedic Buddhist country. And Theravada means the wisdom of the elders. It's the oldest form of Buddhism, most like what Buddha actually taught. Under Theravadic Buddhism, for instance, the only true Buddhists are actually monks, because they're the only ones that can, escape the wheel of samsara. Now, Buddhism does not have the 10 Commandments. It has Buddha's eightfold path. Right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration, right understanding. Now, this is very, very grey compared to thou shalt not, right? So, what is right speech? Okay? Well, if I lie, but it gets me money to look after my poor sick buffalo up in Isan, then, lying is that's the right thing to do, right? If I lie and it stops my boyfriend getting upset, lying is the right thing to do. And I'm sure I'm not the only person in this room who has conveyed to a Thai person that I want the truth, and they're like, why would you want the truth? Don't you want to hear something that makes you feel good, right? And guys, think about this, if you've been in a marriage and your wife says, does this clothing make me look fat? Maybe you're going into a grey answer there, right? So that sort of Thai way is like, and the other thing that we have a very, very different idea about is marriage, right? Marriage, the Western idea of marriage goes back to Genesis, and Adam got ripped out and that was made into a woman, and so she's like flesh of his flesh. Therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. So when the father of the bride walks down the aisle and he gives the bride away. He gives her away. She's yours now, she's not mine. Now we tend to think of marriage as the start of a new family, right? It's a new family. Thais have no idea about any of this, okay? No idea whatsoever. They don't even know you won't think of it that way. They have not left their family behind. In a very real sense, they are still married to their parents. So many a guy in like Australia has been married to a Thai woman happily for years, and she'll suddenly say, I'm going back to the village. And he's going, what? No, I'm going back to the village. My parents need me, I'm going back. It's not like a discussion, right? And they say, but we're married. Yeah. No, I'm going back to the village. In a very real sense, they're still married to their parents. It's not the start of a new family marrying you. Another tradition we have in the West that has no parallel in the East whatsoever is the tradition of courtly or romantic love. It's a really bizarre thing. It's like, if you follow your heart, your true love, everything will work out. Even if you're going with somebody poor, true love is the way to go, your children will be more happy, follow your heart. Again, obviously fall in love, right? They do. But they don't necessarily think that, if I follow my heart, this is going to work out to be the best of all possible worlds. Because, let's face it, and they have a point. Romantic love does not last. Even if you get married, it tends to fade, be replaced by respect and cherishing and good things. Cross fingers. So they really, really have a point. So for instance, I asked this woman to move in with me, wonderful woman, but 2 weeks before she was due to move in with me, she met the rich Austrian. Who's Austrian here? Christian? Wasn't you, was it? She met a rich Austrian. Within like a week she's in Austria, because this rich Austrian's going to send who knows how much money up country to her child and parents and stuff. Now, of course that, bruised my heart badly, but I wasn't upset with it because I understand that's how Asia and Thailand work, right? Family comes first. Really love you, Ren? Bye. So, now, this is a good question. What part of this guy's going to go to hell? And the angels are saying, what part of thou shalt not commit adultery do you not understand? Did you not understand? Well, in the case of Thais, none of it. They don't have a thou shalt not commit adultery background. So you can see this was a survey done about 2015, I think, and you'll see the country where the greatest percentage of married adults confesses to having an affair is Thailand. it's like 13% above France. How the hell did that happen? And that's probably an underestimate, I would say. This might be a joke, but somebody told me this who actually believed it, that there was a survey done of married Thai women in Bangkok, and it said that 95% of married women in Bangkok had cheated on their husbands. And the Thai women they told this to laughed and said, I don't think it'd just be 95%. So they don't understand thou shalt not commit adultery. They understand thou shalt not upset their husband by getting found out, of course, or their wives. And of course, that's a sort of institutionalized infidelity. You know, you have a me annoy or lesser wife or something for some Thai guys. Now, this represents the wheel of samsara. The wheel of born, suffering, die, born, suffering, die, born, suffering, die. The wheel of reincarnation. And this is what Thais believe in. So out of that, in your past life, of course, comes karma. Good or bad karma. Now, our tradition in the West, with the Judeo-Christian thing, is one life and the consequences of that. You either go to heaven or hell. So your actions in this life are all there is. And that's what counts. But Thais believe you carry a weight of good or bad karma. So if you're lying in the street in your own urine, starving, that's your karma. If you're the king or something, that's your karma. But of course you can go up and down. Obviously your actions in this life have an effect. So you can come up and down in terms of karma in your lifetime. Now I believe that this is one of the results of this belief in karma, right? Now we believe that how we drive is what's going to determine whether we survive this drive. And of course, the idiots around us, okay? But try to drive. But Thais believe, yeah, but no matter how carefully you drive, it's not just about your actions now. It's about the weight of karma in the past. So if you have good karma, Buddha will look after you and you won't have an accident. Even if you drive well, if you've got bad karma, then you're going to have an accident. Oh, I have this theory that, making good in Thailand is called tambun, which means make good, which here means going and supporting the monks, right? It doesn't mean helping poor people or anything. So generally, I have a theory if they could make driving appear to be a form of tambun, then the Thais would drive better. Right? Like emphasise that behind that tinted windscreen there could be a monk. And if they drive badly, they could be responsible for killing or injuring a monk. Alright, now this is the why, a wonderful Thai tradition. But in here, this actually, because of karma, Thais, one of the things I had to wrap my head around when I came to Thailand is that Thailand is incredibly hierarchical. Right? Australia is very flat, but Thailand unbelievably hierarchical. They actually believe that they could place everybody in Thailand in a hierarchy from top to bottom. Right? Up the tops would be the monks and the king and stuff. So everybody believes in a hierarchy. That doesn't mean they accept your version of what the hierarchy is and where they are. So this is an example of doing the why, right? Now, this is the older woman, so she's presumed to be higher up the hierarchy than the younger woman, which is why the older woman has the lower hands and the younger woman has her hands higher. The higher you put up your hand is the more respect you are. So if it was a monk, you'd probably put your hands right up here. And if it was the king, you might start up here and then even raise your hands even higher, because it's the king, right? So, here is my very serious advice to all of you. Do not do the why. You won't understand where to do it, how to do it, how slowly to bow, where to hold your hands. And Thais know this, right? They don't expect you to do the why. The only time I do the why is like some cute little kid, right? One of the things I like in Thailand, I can smile at children and interact with them, and I danced with them, Friday night. And people don't, you're smiling at my child, where's my mobile phone? I'm just going to phone the nearest police station, right? So one of the wonderful things about Thailand, don't get me wrong, stranger danger is a horrible thing, but the actual truth is it's 99% of interference in children is done by intimates, not strangers. So if a child, so I'll interact with the child, I'll say, oh, nah, and do, which means cute. And the parents will go, yes, she's cute, isn't she? And then they encourage the child to do the Y to me, and I'll do the Y back to the child, right? And because that's just helping train them. And occasionally I've done it when I've left something behind, and instead of pocketing it, the Thai person saved for me, I come back, then I'll do the Y, right? Thank you so much. But generally, do not do the Y. Now, when Thais meet for the first time, okay? So say you've got girlfriends or boyfriends, and there's a party, and they form a circle and they're meeting, right? And they're all smiling and they're whining and stuff. You think, wow, they're all getting on so well. But on the inside, it's probably more accurately depicted like this. They're trying to find out who top dog is, right? They're actually smiling, going, is this person above me or below me, right? Was this woman ever in a bar, right? Was she ever work in a bar? If she did, she's below me, right? So they're actually trying to work out where they fit hierarchically in with the other people around them. The other thing, this idea of hierarchy extends to the body, okay? So the head is high and the feet are low, okay? Very important to understand this. Even if she's your girlfriend, do not touch her on the head in public, right? Big no-no. There should be a sign at airports. Do not touch Thais on the head in public, head ever, unless they're... So they go, now, if you're from a Judaic Christian background, or you're raised like I was, the dirtiest part of the body is like below the navel and above mid-thigh, right? That's the dirty part of the body. But Thais do not see it that way. The dirtiest part of the body is the foot. So you never point at anybody with your foot. I had a Thai lady come around and I used the back of my heel to close the fridge door. She went, ugh! Because to her, it was like I'd use my my ass to close the fridge door. Big Ron was telling me of an incident where somebody had dropped a Thai baht note and it was blowing in the wind. And they, and so Big Ron had a really good idea. I'll stop this blowing away. Image of the king on the Thai baht note. Right? It's the Thai equivalent of using it to wipe your ass. Right? It's your filthy foot has just put its hand on the king. Better to let it blow away. This is a sign in one of the old Thai toilets at level with the floor that I saw in a photograph. It says, "Karana me lang tao nai hong nam." Do not wash your feet in the toilet. Your ass is okay, but do not wash your feet in the toilet because they're dirty. So these are the highest people in Thailand. These are the monks. Now, the hierarchical nature of Thailand is embedded in the language. It's embedded in how I refer to myself and how I refer to other people. So normally I would just say kun, meaning you, but I would never call them up kun. They're tan, right? They're like tan, like master, high. Similarly, so this is, and notice of course they lower themselves before the monks and stuff. Now, which non-Thais, this says, Ka Wara Puta Chao. I'm thinking, mate, who has never heard that term? Lots of people should now be putting their hand up. Lots and lots of people should be putting their hand up. Some too lazy too. In actual fact, you've all heard that term. Kawara Buddha Chao Ao Manor. That's the start of the King's Anthem. It means servant of the Lord Buddha. Now, normally in conversation, a man would refer to himself as Pom, I. But if you were in front of the king, you wouldn't say Pom or Duchan, right? You'd say servant of the Lord Buddha, i.e. your servant. So the hierarchical nature of Thailand is actually really in the language. Now, the West used to be really hierarchical. Sorry, I've got a bit of a cold. Please excuse me while I moment. So the West used to be really hierarchical. There used to be a great chain, what they call the great chain of being. God, archangels, angels, the Pope, the archbishops, the bishops, the king, the royalty, the priests, men underneath men, women underneath them, slaves, and then animals under them, and so on and so on. So we used to be really hierarchical, just like Thailand still is. And it was a little bit of a different tradition. Anyway, let me move on. So whatever happened to the great chain of being? Well, this is a very important thing to understand in terms of understanding Western history. The apocalypse, right? Time has a direction. For Buddhists, not so much. It's this huge circle. If you think 30.6 billion years is a long time for the age of the universe, this is nothing compared to what Buddha talked about in terms of time. It's just this endless circle. But Christian tradition is that history has a direction and it's going towards something, the apocalypse. Right? At the apocalypse, Jesus is going to appear in the sky and the faithful will be gathered up in the rapture, and the rest of all the guys who went to Pattaya and lived there will be left behind. So there was always this tradition that the hierarchy would come to an end eventually, right? And that it would be flattened, and you'd be, to use the phrase that Luther really faced, it was like saved by faith alone. You'd be saved by faith alone. So the hierarchy was always going to go. And he thought the apocalypse was coming because obviously the Antichrist was in Rome, the Pope, right? Because he refused to reform the church. So he really thought this was the dawn of the apocalypse. And so he wiped out so much of the hierarchy. The Pope was gone, the archbishops, the bishops, the monks, everything was like gone. But here's the thing. If you go from a hierarchical culture to a flat culture, like to democracy, that is really difficult transition, all right? So you would get what I call apocalyptic periods. In England, they chopped the head off the number one person in the country, right? They killed the king. France, they didn't just limit themselves to the king, right? Thousands and thousands of people trying to go from this hierarchical thing to this flat liberty, equality, fraternity, virginity thing, and it's like really flat. Apocalypse in the USA, getting rid of the ultimate hierarchy, free and slave. USSR, not just politically equal, but also economically equal. Millions and millions of people died. And just as many or more in China, trying to flatten the hierarchy. And then we have well, what are we here? We're in a hierarchical culture here with the Thais. And we see these threatening apocalyptic type periods, right? When the hierarchy finds one person, one vote indigestible. Yeah? So, Thaksin, do you know what? Thaksin came along and he figured, it doesn't matter where the votes come from as long as I get the majority of votes. So he really called it the Isan vote. So then you have, it's no great secret, there's different ethnic groups in Thailand. So there's the Bangkok Thais who consider themselves the real Thais, and then there's the Isan Thais who come over from Laos and were allowed to sort of take that part of the country because it was so poor, right? So they learned to live off grasshoppers and stuff. So, but how could they, so with some traditional Bangkok Thais, they would regard the lowest person in the Bangkok ethnic group as above the highest person in the Assam ethnic group. Right? That's what I'm saying. Everybody agrees in the hierarchy, but they don't agree necessarily where they are in the hierarchy. So then we had this I remember when they were throwing out Shinawat Thaksin, and this interviewer, I think he was BBC, interviewed somebody like Sutek or someone and said, so you're trying to get rid of Thaksin because he's corrupt? And he said, no, because he's too corrupt. Right? Got to have the balance, right? He's too corrupt. I saw an article in the Bangkok Post, it was years ago, 12 years ago or something, and it said, there's more to democracy than winning the majority of votes. And I'm thinking, well, no, apart from the fact that you're not supposed to be corrupt. But in Thailand, you're just not allowed to be too corrupt, right? So, this great indigestion between people who think, oh, and I heard another discussion, might have been the same guy, said that democracy should be like this committee of elite meeting and electing the Prime Minister. A very different concept of democracy. So I remember speaking to Dr. Manar, not this time, but another time, and you remember the junta came in. It was very, very tense. Red shirts, yellow shirts, right? And the junta came in and said, that's enough. Now this is actually really lucky, because as soon as apocalyptic periods, well, there's this separate hierarchy called the military. And again, you can go up and down hierarchies in your lifetime. And the military comes in and goes, whoa, that's enough for now. Right? Let's just calm things down. And I expressed to Dr. Manar that people in Thailand were relieved when the junta came in. And he said, yes, I think so too. Because it sort of calmed down this thing. So are we likely to see more apocalyptic type sort of clashes in this battle of the hierarchy versus one person, one vote? Would seem likely. But of course we are educating Thais. They are learning to speak English, a very flat language compared to the hierarchical Thai language, so that might have its effect. Well done, lasted to now. There's supposed to be... And that's my little talk on understanding Thailand and why it's changed so much so fast. I hope you got something out of it.